So, sitting at home chilling on a Sunday afternoon, and something comes up on my feed about what is it, seven women. I don't know if they were born as such, but females are on here talking about strength and survival, and black women talk and blah 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 blah. So I get on, and I had some questions, because really what they're doing is they're just regurgitating and passing around the same delusions that they always pass around to each other. And I wanted them to see themselves through the lens of everyone else and open their minds to other stuff. And what do? They block me. They block me. They Many black women are in the echo chamber of ignorance. They regurgitate the same victim narrative. They regurgitate the same talking points. They regurgitate the same, perception of strength, while wanting to feign weakness at their whim, back and forth to each other. And they never get or receive any outside perspectives. So they maintain a chronic state of ignorance. It's chronic. I'm not even going to, because they're still alive. I'm not even going to talk much. I'm just going to let you listen to this foolishness. All right. But before I have y'all listen, I want y'all to look at how they look. Now, I'm not going to say anything, but just look at how they look. Get it? Got it? Good. Okay. All right. Now, let's play the video. Actually, let me speed it up. Settings. Playback speed. Oh, by the way, she threatened to get young people on me. Whatever that means. All right. let's play. Wait a minute. Oh, here we go.
How we survive, from healthcare, childbirth, to media representation and technology. Yeah. We are stereotyped as technology. Yeah. We are stereotyped as angry, hypersexualized, or irresponsible, while critical facts are often ignored. Media narratives repeatedly spotlight Black women through deficient-based lenses, focusing on death rates, abortion claims, and pathology, without even providing comparative data, and fuels harmful myths. Today, we are pushing back. This conversation is about truth, accountability, and empowerment, showing young Black girls and all girls that we are not just surviving systems built against us, we are thriving beyond them, okay? So even if you are not a young Black girl, you may be an ally who can finally hear from us what we think and what we say is valid.
If you're thriving, why are you complaining?
This is what the media has made everyone believe. So I believe there's always something, especially if you're out there and you've adopted a Black child. I think you want to listen in for sure, because nobody knows us better than us, okay? So with me today, I will introduce our panel for our discussion. Let's see. So again, I told you it's a little bit longer version because you need to have context of who my guests are, okay? So first we have Dr. Holly. She's a Philly-based comedian, award-winning screenwriter, and an actress. She's written and starred in award-winning films and performed at the New York Comedy Festival, San Francisco Sketch Fest, and opened for T-Murph at the Detroit House of Comedy. Known for her bold, fearless humor, she brings a dynamic voice. Next, we have Gisette Lane English. She is a philanthropist, a nonprofit executive with over 30 years of experience creating impact across health, sport, and government. She's a recipient of the Joseph R. Biden Jr. President Lifetime Achievement Award and the founder of Women Inside Professional Sports and Speak English 5. Gisette is...
Okay, blah, 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 blah. Ugly broad accolades. All right, let's move forward.
Philly and New York. She is a stand-up comedian, educator, and she's an educator in the Philly School District. And next we have Jennifer Mactier, creative producer and storyteller, dedicated to bringing hidden histories to light. She has over 20 years experience in business development and a background in project development. She creates compelling work in British Empire and Caribbean migration. Next up, we have Kishan Hill. All of you, I appreciate you all for coming. Let's see where you at. Can you hear me? Hey. Thank you, ladies. So let me see, go back to here. Okay, so I appreciate you for coming today. And let me see, did everybody mute? Everybody can hear me? Okay, good. Okay, so I guess everybody must mute. We're just making sure because we have 8 on the panel. We have to make sure that we have
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. I guess you think you have 8 on the panel. I don't know. Okay. Well, we know that I'm a PhD, isn't in mathematics, but okay. Or counting.
our audio correct. So here we go. So ladies, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you all. Let's start with our first question. Let's see what we got here. Who's that? Let's see. Where's the? Okay, there we go. I had to put something there. Okay, so first question up. How does race and gender shape the daily realities of black women in America?
How does race and gender shape the reality of black women, which is a race and gender? Now that is a very weird thing to say. How does race and gender shape my race and gender? It's kind of like, how do automobiles shape cars? It's one of those stupid things to say.
Anybody?
Black women suffer from intersectional discrimination. We have to deal with racism and sexism simultaneously, rather than separately, which maybe other women from other groups experience maybe one of the two, but we have to deal with both of them at the same time. And as a result, it affects Black women regarding pay, health care, just added stress, treatment in the workplace, stereotypes, over sexualization, like you could go on, and so I think that that's one of the primary issues that we face as, women of color, Black women.
Anyone else? Well, so I'll go on to question statement number 2. Well done with question. Why do you think that the media consistently highlights all the negative statistics about Black women without context or comparison to other groups? So
because I want to hop in here.
Okay. First of all, they do bring comparison to other groups. When they say the divorce rate amongst Black women is ... and they say, they'll say something like, that's 20% less than, or that's 20% more than their white counterparts. The marriage rate of Black women is 0, which is infinity percent less than white women. They always say that. What they're doing is they want, every time you say something true but negative about Black women, they want you to say something true and negative about white women. Therefore, they don't have to improve. They could just say we're balanced.
Here, because we the blueprint. So because we the blueprint, you gotta kind of put some razzle dazzle to make it look like this is not where you want to follow, what you want to emulate, what you want to look to. But if you look around, people want the Botox, people want the thick lips, they want the big butts, right? It's kind of like our history of wanting us to, be caregivers to your children and nurture them, from our breasts, to be everything to society. But when it comes to just giving us our due justice, it's not happening. But if we continue to have this reputation where we're looked at as damaged goods, then that does good for the society that wants to continue to make us look like as if we're inferior.
Absolutely.
I feel like to add, to piggyback off of what Dr. Holly said.
Why are they proud to do slave crap? They want us as mammy. They want us as wet nurse. And they like our big lips because Botox, and which I thought Botox was to fill in wrinkles. I didn't know that it had anything to do with lips or anything like that. I mean, that's not wanting wrinkles is not trying to be Black, but okay. Doctor. But this wasn't a question about physical appearance. But for obvious reasons, that's what's top on her brain all the time.
I totally agree with her statements. But I think that they push narratives without context. And they don't speak to the root causes of why we are in different positions that we're in, even though we push past some and we have the God-given ability to strive anyway. And as she stated, we are in fact the blueprint, and they fear that about us. They're afraid of that.
Well, someone here said that what the question was about behavior, not looks. Was it?
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yes, it was.
I don't know. I tend to think that.
Yes, it was. I mean, when you talk about the media coverage, you're not really talking about looks. Like, do Fox News gather together and say, this episode, we're going to talk about how ugly Black women are? No, what they disproportionately display is the behaviors.
Well, I got into media because I didn't like how they portrayed us. And a lot of people, not just me, Black males, there's a lot of groups that they put in these categories. And sadly, there are people who...
Notice how she said males. So now we know what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the feminists. We're dealing with the male-hating feminists.
Don't travel, haven't been outside their home, or haven't lived or read a book. You don't have to travel, but even haven't read a book. So they don't know about other people, and they just automatically assume that it's gold when someone says it, especially if it's your parents saying it, right? You can always believe your parents say, right? So I've had people, in other parts of the world say to me, yeah, only thing we see about on the news about you is, robbery and, bad things. And I said, so you're grown enough to understand.
So that's behavior. All we see on the news is robbery and these are robbery is a behavior, ma'am. Because you're old as hell. Robbery is a behavior. Therefore, if the news is talking about behaviors, why is she talking about looks? The reason why she's talking about looks is because she looks like crap. And she feels that it's the news, it's the media that's telling the world that she looks like crap. And if the media actually didn't do that, we all would be blind and think that she is Rihanna 5 years ago.
Understand and watch television. So what were you thinking? And well, I don't know. I thought that, and I was like, there should be no stutter to that. You should, after, let's say, even 16 years old, you should be paying attention to what's going on in the world and know. If you're on a lap, the computer, the kids are always on the computer, they're on their desk. They should be aware and know my parent is the one causing these problems. I don't think I want to be like them. And I have friends who have told me, and I know that their parents are not to either of our likings, right? But they're not like them, and they knew right away that that was not right. They didn't even need to be told or taught. They knew that. So with that being said, I think it's intentional with the media. I'm not an individual reporter saying, yes, let's go around and make Black people's lives miserable. I'm not saying that, but I am saying whoever runs the top of the notch, what do you call it? Past the executives, whoever owns the station, pretty much you take on their narrative is what I think. And I don't ascribe to that. I don't think, I think the media should be held accountable and they should do a better job because if you're going to tell stats, let's tell everybody stats. I have not heard one report, and please correct me if I'm wrong. White women are having heart attacks at such a high rate. It's alarming. I've not heard one report about.
It could be because they're not having heart attacks at a high rate.
Chinese women are, losing their hair. I'm making that up. All right. Whatever it is. I haven't heard one report.
If Chinese women were losing their hair, Black women would be finding it. Like, ooh, I got that Chinese hair. Trust me, if Chinese women were losing their hair, Black women would be finding it and putting it on their damn head.
Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard one report in any country except for America. It's always Black women are dying of AIDS. Black women got heart attacks. Black women are obese. Black women have diabetes. I mean, you know the ones, right? It's just like what? Well, okay. If that's
all
true,
of the things that she just said is true. Why wouldn't the news cover it? She's saying that, okay, if you're going to talk about Black women's exceptionally high AIDS rate, you should talk about the AIDS rates of you should say something negative about other groups of women.
Thank you. I appreciate you. But then, why don't you cut out some of the healthcare? No, I'm joking. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. And I just feel like it's a disservice intentionally. Okay. I mean, there's many ways, as my mother used to say, genocide is no longer what we think it is. It's not the obvious. It's in your food, your hair products, it's in your television. Because people say, how's that genocide? Well, if I have my 3-year-old watching Black people rob store every day, and they don't see, the Black people that we all know, or the ones in the suburbs who have 2-family homes, blah, 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 blah. What do you think they're going to think? Any kid, Black kid and white kid, they're going to think, well, that's what they do, right? Even if I have Black kids, I'm like, wait, don't you know better? And they're like, no. I'm like, you should. There's no.
Pretty much is what you do. I mean, if they're showing you doing it, then it's what you do. Now, notice how the answer is never get less AIDS. Notice how the answer is never get less diabetes. Because the problem isn't the problem. The problem is the media portrayal of the problem.
No excuse, as my friend Keith says, no excuses, right?
So Tanya, the reason why, to that person who wrote the comment, the reason why I brought up the
That
looks
person
is
is me.
because history has been proven since, I don't know, maybe the 1800s, 1600s, that the first thing the media does is talk about how a Black woman is ugly. If you think about, I know for me, I can't speak for everybody on the panel, but
Okay. According to her, the media just the first thing that the media does is talk about how Black women are ugly. She's taking her own ugly bitch problems and saying that it's this way because of the media. Let's see. News coverage of ugly Black women. Let's see this. News coverage of ugly Black women. All right. Let's see. News. I put new. All right. Let's see. Okay, YouTube. Nope, we're talking about actual media, not forums where people can say what they want. We're talking about actual media. Okay, Yahoo News in 2017, almost 10 years ago, said, and this is written by a Black woman, "I was the Black girl, ugly girl." Okay, so I'm looking for, news at 7. Why are Black women so ugly? Because that's, according to her, that's what they're saying. According to her, that's what's going on. Wait a minute. Okay, so NPR has something, but they're talking about what the bloggers are saying. So yeah, needless to say, the media isn't calling you ugly. It's people with vision calling you ugly.
Well, what dog did you want? We all know about the black and the white dog test, right? We all know what media does, especially when it comes to portraying Black women. And 9 times out of 10, if not all the time, it is about our looks, right?
Yes.
And so that's what I'm referring to, because that is psychological. When you're
It's-
telling and feeding people content through the media how a Black woman is quote unquote ugly, or her hair is not acceptable. These are things that, again, that are tied to our looks. So when people see us with maybe, let's just say, dreadlocks or a fuller figured Black woman, again, it's a negative.
Yeah. We have to be told that fat is ugly. We have to be told that. Like, you see how she's fat and ugly, saying that, it's the media's fault. She's saying that it's the media's fault that that society is perceiving her as fat and ugly. That's what she's trying to get at. Well, you could lose weight. Can't do much about the ugly, but men will smash anything that's in shape.
Connotation that psychologically people are downloading. So yes, looks plays a major part.
They absolutely do. I agree with you again. And it's just another tool that they use to discriminate against us and to suppress us. You're absolutely right. They use every tool that they can.
Holy crap, her lips don't move.
Narrative.
I was looking around like, who's talking? So it's this one right here, but her lips don't move when she talks.
About starting your podcast, that's key. We have to have our own platform so we can push the true narrative about who we really are. And then again, we experience discrimination in the tech world because of it. They don't want to give us the opportunity. They want to pick, forgive me, Barbie for, to do even the sports commentators on, and I'm a sports person, as you know, so that's why I'm speaking to that. But they want to pick.
So basically we should be putting, Queen Latifah up there.
Her and the team is mostly African American, you know what I mean? But there are no sisters representing the messaging that.
Yes, because they actually have talent. You see, like Steph Curry or LeBron James, Michael Jordan and stuff, they're not out there saying, oh, it's the media saying that we suck at basketball. No, they actually dominate the sport.
Should be put out there considering their relationship to the teammates, as culturally, I mean, not DNA wise or genetically. And that's a problem, because they can't speak to.
Black athletes are not in the same culture as fat, old, unattractive women. Like young Black men who are disciplined and in shape are not part of the same culture. They're not even in the same culture as me as a nerd. Which is why I don't ask to interview them or participate in that particular world whatsoever. This is just more DEI crap. This is more like, you know, oh, okay, you should give us a job based on the fact that someone who is the same ethnicity as me has a talent. No.
Maybe what goes on behind the scenes in our family settings as far as sports. They can speak to whatever goes on in their family settings. But again, the teams are predominantly, you know, Black. You know, so I agree with both of you guys.
Well, I would even say, you know, coming up as a little girl, you get all these messages from TV. I believe that the reason why they want to disseminate so much negative information about us is so we don't walk in purpose. If we don't have strong women at home, or strong, you know, even at home or even in our community, sharing with us who we are, how can we know our own identity? Because it has to start somewhere. And as a young Black girl, it was like I had so many different messages. You're too this, you're too that, you're not enough. And because I had strong Black women, my great grandmother, my grandmother, my mom, all around me reinforcing, and also, you know, the males in my life reinforcing who I am, who am I going to believe? And a lot of times if we come from broken homes, who are the children going to believe? And then we have broken children growing up not knowing identity. And so we can't walk in purpose. If we don't know who we are, we can't reach our full potential. So I think that message is really being pushed. So we don't live in the fullness of who we can become.
Right.
It goes to show how hard it is to remove the
That was just fat bitch babble. That didn't make no sense.
history that they wanted to portray for us. Once you create this image, and this has been going on for hundreds of years, they know it's either impossible or it's hard to remove history. And now we're trying to do the work to reverse this, and it's work. It's work. And it's something about they we know who they are. Created this. This was a divine plan, and it's taken just as much history that we're creating now to reverse this.
It is.
History is hard to remove stereotypes.
That's why they made the movie.
Tanya, really quickly, can I? Is GameChanger is that a troll?
I know. I think he is. I'm about to see. He says, when did the media call Black women ugly? Yeah, GameChanger. If you're a troll, I will kick you out. I have no problem with that, and I'll find you. By the way, I will find you. And so I will literally find you on the internet. I will.
No, that's right.
And I know you won't.
Oh no, you're gonna find me. You're gonna find me. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you. Now I'm being threatened by what the hell?
Won't like me because I got
because it can't be a Black woman talking with those idiotic questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it can't be.
There's no way.
Okay, so everyone but Black women are idiotic. It can't be a Black woman with those idiotic questions, meaning that, you know, it must be an idiot. So Black women are under the impression that everyone is idiots but them. Okay. Yeah, all right.
Said I'm not a troll. Okay, so then what are you saying? Because we don't understand why you're saying that.
This comes from a lifetime of only listening to Black women and not taking critiques, criticisms, or suggestions on improvement from other groups of intelligent people.
Right here.
Let me find.
By the way, YouTube is doing what it's doing. It's not 278 people watching, and it's going to go up to like thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands, and then come back down. So ignore that, but let's watch.
Maybe you're a Quaker and you never watched television before in your life, and you live in the woods.
I mean, prime example. Remember Serena Williams with her long hair and her beads? Oh my God.
Yes. Oh yes. I mean, I can think of 5 examples, but first of all, I'm not.
Well, so did society call Serena Williams ugly, or did individuals call Serena Williams ugly? And I don't even remember anyone ever really saying that. But I mean, let's just say that they did. Like, individual opinion is not media. It's not. If somebody put my picture up and they say GameChanger is ugly, I don't blame the person who put my picture up. That's just, you know, the general consensus of how I look.
He said he's really asking a question. Okay, so go ahead. Serena was one, but I mean,
you have to go to Google then, and because that seems like you live under a rock. How are you missing all of those? How are you seeing all of the other headlines, but the ones that where they are literally commenting on Black women features and calling them unacceptable, unprofessional? No, I apologize. They don't say the word.
How am I missing that? Because it's not there, and now you're apologizing. Like, oh no, they don't say that. Well, that's how I missed it because they don't say that. You're stupid.
Or ugly verbatim. Those are the nice ways are saying that Serena's hair is ugly.
Yes,
but they do say it verbatim because they call Michelle Obama a monkey and ugly.
Okay, there you go.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's what.
Okay, what? Okay, let's see. Calling Michelle Obama ugly. All right, let's take a look here. All right. Okay, she's been. All right, let's see. Here we go. Amanda Bynes in 2013, the actress posted several tweets. So tweets, this is not the media. Okay, so let's continue. This is an individual who thinks that she's not a beautiful woman. All right, Philip Agnew, a 2020 advisor to Bernie Sanders campaign, apologized for a tweet where individuals with opinions is not the media. The media is not. Let's see, Carl Polindo. The media is not doing this. Like, when are they saying that? Michelle Obama is an ugly woman. Back to you, Tom. Like, when are they doing that?
Whoever this game changer is, like you must be asleep for the past since we came to life or something. Because
I don't know where he lives, because I was like, I'm sure I could find something from a 7-year-old that would tell us something.
Well, the fact that you have to find it means that it's not, highly publicized.
So I don't know, but
I don't think we. Oh, fact how you can find something from when we were younger. Let's all remember back to our cartoons. The first thing we saw, the animals were talking, but when they didn't have heads, all we saw was the chest down. And we saw brown calves. We heard a very thick tongue. We heard uneducated.
All right, she's old as hell. What she's referring to is the Tom and Jerry show, which I actually was too young to watch myself. It's not that I was too young to watch it. It's just that that already came and went when I was a kid. The only reason why I know that this exists is because of what I seen like later on YouTube about that. But apparently they had like a mammy figure whose face was never shown, and she kind of like the nanny on Muppet Babies, and she was overweight, and she would like say, "I'm gonna kick you out, OWT out." She would do stuff like that. So yeah, she's saying that, that's portraying them as ugly. Well, it's not really. Like, they're not calling her ugly. They're displaying an image, one that this one here and this one here and this one here mirrors, and there's like, let you be the judge. The kids are concluding that this woman, who is faceless, just so happened to be ugly because her frame is bad. So the way to counter that is to maintain a pleasing frame, but y'all don't want to do that because that requires too much sweating.
We heard she's in the kitchen. You're slovenly. We didn't have to hear. You didn't have to say ugly for us to know what you were saying without saying it. And we were children watching these images. And then it's portrayed even more when you have it on the side of a syrup bottle. It doesn't make it any better when you make the bottle shaped like that same image. It doesn't matter. We still are trying to fight for something that is.
You mean like her shape? Like your shape? Like her shape? Prove them wrong. How about that? And I like Aunt Jemima syrup, but now because of whining ass talking bellies, I have to eat Pearl Miller syrup. Actually, I don't eat either, but I did like the Aunt Jemima syrup.
Is not something we should have to fight for.
Right.
To be equal when it comes to the way that we are portrayed. Not saying that we are being told ugly, we're being called much worse than that. That is the least that we could be called or portrayed as.
Yes.
So,
okay, so you admit that you're not being called ugly. Let's be clear. So my comment stands. Oh, you must be living under a rock if you haven't heard the media call us. Well, I haven't heard it, and you haven't either. So now you're backpedaling.
or whoever that person was.
He said if I would allow him, he can come up and say what he means. I don't know who you are. I can't do that. Sorry. You're not good channel today, bro. You can keep up there in that little chat if you like, but not today. Because
Whoever.
That's not funny. I offered to come up to give a different perspective. I don't know who you are. So blah, 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 blah. And it's not that she's laughing because anything she said was particularly funny or humorous or anything. She's laughing because it's disrespectful to a black man. And that's how they get off. Okay. There's 6,336 people watching.
Whoever it is trying to get an angry black reaction, angry woman black reaction, and we're not giving it.
Oh, trust me, I do not have to poke to watch y'all humiliate yourselves.
Here's the piece. Not only we're not giving it, but we really don't owe nobody an explanation. Matter of fact,
Amen.
people are actually privileged, okay, to be able to listen to this conversation because you're going to learn something if you really listen. That goes for white men, black men, white ladies, boys.
That also goes for you. You could actually listen to black men, but you don't. You just surround yourselves from equally ugly broads telling each other what they want to hear.
Girls, whoever, if you're listening, if you really listen, you might actually learn something that will help you for the next time you encounter a black woman.
I don't want
Yeah, and furthermore, he's proving
like
your point. Whenever black women speak of and advocate for ourselves, there's somebody gaslighting as if that
We're
hasn't been our experience.
What's the gaslighting?
My daughter, when she told him, it's a panel for women. Why are you here?
Gaslighting is never a question. And here's what gaslighting is. It comes from like an old movie where a man was convincing a woman that she's crazy, and they had like a gas light in the middle of a table, and she's seen that it was on, and he says, no, it's not on. It's not lit. And she was like, but I see it's lit. It's like, no, it's not lit. These are not questions. And she thought she was crazy because, she took his word over her own visual perception. But this isn't crazy. That's not gaslighting. Asking a question is not gaslighting. If that man had said, hey, is that lamp lit? See, whenever you force women like this to actually think, they feel threatened because they don't like to think.
Anyway, let's get them. I got my own trolls out there that will get you if you're trying to play nasty. We can do that. So I don't want to, but let's keep it nice.
She got her own troll. That's funny. Her own.
I got personalized trolls.
Find out.
There you go. Anyway, you heard him. He's such sassy. Are you interviewed? I'm gonna kick him out in a minute. Give me a second. Anyway, not because I can take any questions, but I don't like people just. Excuse me. How do I say this, ladies? When I know what you look like behind that screen, I know why you're doing this, but it ain't working. Okay. So anyway.
Now this was interesting. I know what you look like behind that screen. So while complaining about the media attacking black women's looks, you attack my looks. Bitch, I know what you look like in front of the screen. What's your point?
Ladies, what was I going to say? I was going back to something you said about looks. I didn't know this, but I knew it, but I didn't know it. No, it didn't dawn on me till the other day. I saw something that reminded me of this. So as far as us and our looks, did you know why we started wearing? Not why we started wearing scarves.
The irony is complete. Gosh, these broads are dizzy. The irony. She just attacked my looks, my perceived looks. And then went right back on to complain about how society is attacking their looks. You holy crap. Holy crap. That's like Madero being released and then kidnapping another country's president. What the hell? Wow. Just wow.
But we had to wear scarves way back when, because the slave master's wife didn't want us to look prettier than her. And so that's how that came about, which is why now I know why my mother can't stand scarves when you go outside the house. She has a thing like, oh, not today. It's like pajama. Oh no, not today. People think we're trying to be like extra or creative. Okay. No, we don't. I don't like wearing them out in public unless it's a special, tied a special way or something. I'm paying tribute to an ancestor or something special. That's it. Other than that, I don't do it because that was the thing where no one wanted us to look prettier than them, let's say. And this is old, so I'm not getting on anybody out there saying, oh my God, you're not enough for me. If the shoe don't fit, don't wear it. And it can't fit because you wasn't around then. So if it don't fit, just listen to the message. And the message is, yes, sometimes we're either not dumbed down,
You
or
wasn't
told to
around
fly
then
down,
either.
you know what I'm saying? So that other people can feel better about themselves. And it is a thing, whether people believe it or not. But I bypass it by just doing me. I don't care what anybody, that's your problem, not mine. And
That's really interesting.
Go ahead, babe.
Sorry. That's a really interesting point where you you brought in the period dressing and the hair, the big bouffant hair and the barrel curls and everything. Because if you also look at the way that the dresses were constructed around the 1800s, they had the big bust built in with the corsets, and also if you looked at the back where the women would actually wear a cage, and then lots of taffeta and bows to have the impression that they actually had a derriere. And again, that's building on the original image of the African woman, the native African woman, with those features. So building it into the actual garment construction as well as the hair. So it goes way back.
It does.
Centuries back.
Yes, it does. But does anybody get that feeling today? Sometimes when you're in a crowd, and I actually got it the other day in Spain. It was weird, but I'm easy. I use like Sunday morning. So the person was just basically saying that they were the only true Spanish person there, that type of thing. And I was like, oh, okay. That's what you said. But I'm trying to think, this part of Spain, wasn't it built by the Moors? I'm just saying. So they didn't like that comment. So, but when someone else looked like her told her, she was like, and she walked away. So I like to get rid of people is what I do. I don't.
It didn't really happen what she's describing, but she just scattered somebody because she said something stupid. So apparently was in Spain, and perhaps the southern portion of Spain, and she says, wasn't this part of Spain built by the Moors? And it's like, I got you. And they just look like that was a really stupid and out of place thing to say. It really was. And then just walked away. I mean, imagine driving a car and you say something. You say something like, I think sumo wrestling is overrated. I don't really like it. Yeah, but wasn't this car built by the Japanese? Then you just like pull over and kick the person out. It's just stupid. It's a stupid thing to say. Like, your ego is so frail that saying and doing crap like that really just gives you that necessary boost, so you don't feel like you look like you look.
Clark says, don't entertain the thought with somebody because they're not on my level. So why would I even have a conversation with you because you don't know what I'm talking about? Doesn't make sense. So, anyway, enough of that one. How has strong, what they call it, trope, the strong Black woman stereotype harmed Black women's mental health and physical health?
Now, it's funny that they mentioned the strong Black woman stereotype when this one right here in the corner was saying, fortunately, I have strong women in my family, and we're stronger, and stronger. Where does that strong Black woman stereotype come from? Oh, Black women.
Well, they want to assume that we don't feel pain, that we're stronger, maybe than we actually are, and maybe we are strong as they think we are, but that doesn't mean we want to not get payments or, not be given the benefit of the doubt or treated with compassion, So that's the problem.
So now there's doctors out there not giving you pain meds when you're a Black woman.
And again, I think it's just another way for them to mistreat us and discriminate. It doesn't make any sense. If you're performing a procedure medically on any woman of any race and it requires, anesthesia or whatever it requires, it should be that across the board. Not you don't give it to somebody because of their color. You're assuming their pain tolerance, their threshold is higher than someone else. It's genetically, like, it makes no sense. And it's all just hate and disdain. And I think that's the core. It's founded in fear. I mean, everything that they do to us, that's ill-intentioned or mistreatment that they gave us is all founded in fear.
Yes.
I agree. I think mentally and physically it has done damage in the sense that some Black women have given the narrative and passed it down generationally that you just suck it up. You be resilient. If you cry, you cry in private, or you sex it away, you drink it away, you do all these other things to cover it up and not really kind of talk about it and express it. And I know Black men have that kind of like same trope, if you will. You're right. I'm sorry, Josette, if I pronounce your name wrong. You're right in the sense that we are strong.
I was right. Thank you.
Okay, we are strong Black women because it's in our DNA. But
You see that? We are strong, but I want you to treat us like we're weak. Why? Well, I want to be able to manipulate you, you know, kind of like a possum. I want to be able to play possum, but attack you like a lion. Like, I want to be a tiger, but I want you to take me into your house like I'm a house cat. So we're strong, but I don't want you to treat us like we're strong.
But that doesn't mean that we're not human. That doesn't mean that we don't have a soft side. That doesn't mean that we don't feel pain and we don't hurt, whether it's through childbirth or just a breakup, right? It's kind of like sexualizing and making our 10-year-old an adult, right? Or looking at Tamir Rice as if he is a 22-year-old when he was just a kid. So it works for us in the sense that it's true because it is within our DNA, but we also should have a space where we can just be soft and gentle and rest and be ourselves.
Yep. And predetermined adultification is a problem, you know, with our girls, you know, these days as well. And then also this issue causes Black women sometimes to suppress stress, which then cause autoimmune diseases, mental health issues, you know, because of that suppressed, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because society looked at a 15-year-old Black girl and thought that she was 18. That is what's causing the stress and blah, 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 blah. No. It's having to deal with mothers like you.
You know, stress and frustration.
Yes. Yeah, I was hoping, because Sean, you could speak to that too, as far as that goes, because I know I was just reading something the other day, how, you know, we all know that stress raises your cortisol raise and a heart attack, blah, blah, blah. So it all goes together. But again, I told you, there's more ways to do genocide than just, you know, a tree or a gun or whatever means people have done throughout centuries to us and to other people. So fine, I'll be fair. And so I do believe that it's still a part of some greater, I don't know if it's a elite plan, I don't know whose plan it is. It's not nobody personally, you know, the everyday Joe Schmo, I don't think, you know what I'm saying? But it's something that's, well, current administration, that's another story. But you get what I'm saying. It's just, it's planned, because if you know that people have more heart attacks and do more whatever they say you're doing, if you're stressed out, why do you keep stressing us out on every level? Not just one level, but many levels. So, Kashawn, I was going to say, you deal with mental health a lot. And I used to, but I haven't been in the field in about, I don't know, 2 years, I don't know.
We're strong, but you should treat us in a way to where we don't have to endure stress like every freaking adult alive.
But so I want to see your take on our mental health, as far as, you know, it's like another form of grief, really, to have to deal with racism every day.
So Mel Robbins did a podcast, and I can't pronounce his name correctly, Gabor Mamate, but yeah. And it talked about how most women, like a lot of autoimmunity, stress, sickness happen with women because of the roles we play, because of, to Gisette's point and Dr. Holly's point, because of the mantle we carry. We carry such big mantles. God has ordained us to have such strength, which goes back to the original question about why we're portrayed.
You see how they keep calling themselves strong? It's in our DNA. God has ordained us to have such strength, but don't stress us out because we're weak. Ignorant broads, I swear.
Black and brown, why we're portrayed in such a way is because if we believe the narrative about who
you just portrayed yourself that way. You're stupid.
We are, we can't show up as God has intended. That does affect the mental health. When we have to be single parents and we carry a household for kids and the family, like
why do you feel you have to be a single parent? Because God has ordained it. You're stupid as fuck. I was being nice in the chat room, but they kicked me out. Now they're getting the real.
We do it. But that's a struggle to do it. And we internalize all those things. We internalize the words when we go to work every day, and the unfair treatment for my brown sisters and my mind a lot. And it's like we have to work so much harder at everything that we do, because it's like we're always trying to prove, you know, have a spot where we already have our spot, but we're always having to create a spot and prove to others that we're worthy to be there. So I think between the workforce, between the family life struggle, I think between bearing kids, and if you're married, being that strong tower for your husband, that's all.
Notice how only married was an option. Listen, we have to bury kids. We have to go to work. Are we not bury, even though they bury a lot of kids, shout out to Planned Parenthood, but we have to bear kids. We have to go to work. And if you're married, like the only thing that's optional is marriage to these broads.
Having to create a spot and prove to others that we're worthy to be there. So I think between the workforce, between the family life struggle, I think between bearing kids, and if you're married, being that strong tower for your husband.
See, the only if was married.
That's a whole plethora of struggle and strength at the same time. And a lot of times we internalize that, which ends up in sickness, which ends up in, me being a wife and a mother, I'm in ministry. There's so many different hats that I wear. A lot of times I did this conference yesterday where it's out of intergenerational trauma. We're not taught how to express ourselves. We're not taught how to process emotionally and have that emotional intelligence. So what do? We internalize it. We stay silent. We don't know how to process it. We end up sick. And so a lot of times we're carrying all of this, and it just, and the external pressures, they just compound that with our personal lives, because we're always being taught or just told, again, we're not enough. We got to, you can't show up at the table, and to the young man's point, every time people come on here, it's a distraction. So for all of us to be able to continue to just keep focused and show love to that GameChanger, because it's just a distraction, but we all have our story. Yeah, we all have our stories where we've been told we've been ugly. Where we've been treated different. And to the point of the scarf, I remember being in Italy, and I'm a Black girl, I wear my scarf, and I have that thing on, and I went on, and one day I was traveling, and I had so many different people like, because I had the scarf on. And I'm like, that's a cultural thing. I have done that in America, but I didn't know going someplace else, I'm going to be looked at like, and pointing to my head and stuff. So again, that's stress and strain. I can't just be who I am and just show up as I am and walk in my purpose and wear my scarf and,
Oh gosh, people are going to have opinions of your attire. What they're complaining about is, how come I can't do everything I want and never get negative criticism about it? Like, okay, for example, I'm going to dress like a clown. I'm going to dress like a clown. And then when the kids point and laugh and call me bozo or something like that, I'm going to say, how come I can't just dress like I want without kids just criticizing me as a Black man? Why can't I do that? Why can't I dress like a clown and be called handsome?
have braids occasionally and just be who I am without, people, that external pressure. That makes us sick, whether we know it or not. So
yes, and I mean, the reason why I want to have you all on today, thank you, Gisette, for being the catalyst for this show today, because she had said, the panel, and I was like, you know what, I wanted to do it, but I was like, it's hard to find. People think it's easy, but it's not easy to find, 7, 6, even 5 women or people at the same time that's on the same page and the same spiritual vibe. It's hard. So I appreciate so much for that. But young people is why I really had it. I'm hoping there's some 21-year-olds watching and watching and seeing, all these beautiful women on the panel, educated,
Where's all these beautiful girls? They all just look like squat. They'll have you suicidal before you fuck any one of them. And that's why they create these echo chambers, because it's the only place that people think that they're beautiful. Everywhere else, they point and laugh. They think you're fat, idiots, and ugly, and stuff like that. So, and they're complaining about that. They clamor together and like, yes, in this place I'm beautiful. So let's kick GameChanger out because he might give us a reality check. And that's what they're doing. They're avoiding reality. They're creating these echo chambers of delusion to avoid reality.
World traveled, whatever you want to say, that they don't have to sit in their aloneness of being, let's say, the only one at some place. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes that happens. And a big up to my some of our allies who know that that's a thing, and they try their best to alleviate that. So I've been hearing that no matter what happens, she's like, hey, come on, you come with us. I don't care about all the other people or what their problem is. That's their problem. That's not our problem. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that too. And that is also why I'm having the show. We need to teach people how we want to be treated, you know, and they keep getting it from the media, and you know that ain't gonna be right. So I feel like what we say here today is important because somebody's got to learn, right? And our young girls, they need to understand that, yeah, sometimes this battle is walking alone. I hate to say it, it is. But you do have sisters that you can talk to, as you see from this panel, that can say, yeah, no, it's not your imagination that your boss did such and such.
And that's what's happening. So the sisterhood is dying, and they're trying to recruit, but nobody wants to be them. And they're saying, yes, sometimes you have to walk alone. So you're basically saying, you know, be an ugly, bitter old broad if you join the sisterhood. They're trying to recruit because they need it to replenish themselves.
You know, or it's not your imagination that they thought you were going to take something in the store, you know, whatever it is. Any, I can give you 500 examples. Or when you went to have your baby and you almost bled out, it's not your imagination. They really thought that you were just okay, you know. So thank you. I appreciate you guys for this. And I appreciate your comments. I had to get the other one out because I can't take all them questions. And my ADHD won't let me. Yeah, talking to him and you guys.
I can't take all them questions. No, you cannot take opposing points of view because you live in a state of illusion and you can't take reality. So you block it.
Him and I'm like, bro, you're going too fast for me now. So I'm sorry. I didn't ban.
It's not too fast. There's like 3 people commenting in this chat room, and I'm one of them. It's not too fast. You think too slow.
Him because I was scared of the heat. I like heat, but I don't feel my family have to be subject to that. So anyway,
but
so
can I speak to that question as well, as far as how it's harmed us as being strong Black women? Because I actually spent time with my aunt yesterday, and I was leaving. It was my uncle's 72nd birthday. So I'm leaving. Right? Thank you. I'll pass that on because as I'm leaving, I was preparing to leave, and I'm in the bathroom.
So now we're at the point that I haven't heard yet. So let's hear the story.
I hear my aunt, who they've been married for 43 years, and I hear her
I
say
did hear
something that was pushing this narrative that we have ground into ourselves for ages. And that is being a strong Black woman to the epitome, to our own detriment. And what she said was, I know you guys are down there having your party, and I know he's celebrating his birthday, but we've been married for 43 years, and all that I need is just for someone to just check on me. I wanted to be a part of. No one even said anything. No one asked me a question. They just assumed because I take care of, and I've been taken care of, that I'm okay being up here alone in this room and just give me a TV to watch without letting it be known that this is something that no one's checked on. So I said in that moment, it's funny that this panel, when you put out the questions and everything, I said, this speaks to it because that is a generational trauma that we have carried.
These women are horrific bitches. Horrific. So if I understand the story correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat room, your uncle is celebrating his 74th birthday. And for whatever reason, his wife, your aunt, instead of for actually being there in the celebration, she's saying, I wish that people would check up on me. I wish that this was about me. I want to make my husband's birthday about me. This should be about me. What about me? And can you at least come upstairs to check on me to see if I have something good to watch on TV? So that's what you're doing during your husband's birthday. Is sitting upstairs watching TV like a good wife, hoping that people would come up and make sure that your remote has batteries, as opposed to checking your, as opposed to celebrating your husband's birthday. So yeah, exactly. Incredibly self-absorbed. And it's being placated by broads like this. Like, hey, we need to ignore our husbands on their birthday and focus on the woman. This is wow. Somebody said make him a sandwich. Yes, a cake sandwich. It's his birthday. What the fuck is wrong with it? Supremely look at this chick at the bottom. She looked like one of like Casper's cousins. You know, the ones that used to bully him, like the crew that used to mess with Casper. She looks like one of the unfriendly ghosts. My head hurts. My head hurts.
Carried around forever, from our grandmothers to our great grandmothers to our great great grandmothers. If you feel like there has been something that has been done to you, done against you, and we feel like our voices are not.
This is how they think. They only see women. This is how they think. My mother, my mother's mother, my mother's mother, my mother's mother's mother. Mamas, baby mamas, mamas. Baby mama, mama, mamas. Baby mama, mamas. And this is why they become baby mamas. Because they don't want somebody else in the house competing for attention. They're attention whores. And regular whores, but they're attention whores.
Forever, from our grandmothers to our great grandmothers to our great great grandmothers. If you feel like there has been something that has been done to you, done against you, and we feel like our voices are not heard, we will do it on our own.
Classic attention seeking behavior. If we feel our voices are not heard, then we're going to. That's what children do when they want attention. Imagine this. Imagine it's your birthday. And people are saying, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Shut the fuck up. I need y'all to focus on me right now. That's black women.
A detriment where we will not speak up. And then when it's time to speak up, we don't know how to speak up. And the generation that came before us, it is those of us like myself in my 50s trying to break those things in my great aunt. Like, okay, I hear what you were saying. And I pulled it to the side and I said, I heard everything that you were saying. And it was, when I tell you there was so much diversion, know that you hear what I was saying.
Damn. You're in your 50s? I guess black don't cry. I could have swore I thought that you were born in the 50s. I literally thought you were born in the 50s, that you're not in your 50s.
But are you hearing how you're not even listening to yourself? I don't need that much. I just want a little simple, and it's not even that big. It's huge. You're right. It's not that big. It's it's colossal. Because at the end of the day, this, and we as women, not even just this woman, we as women forget that we wear so many hats. We are not just mom, daughter, sister, co-worker, employee, girlfriend. When we were born into this world, we had one name. How often?
Hey, she didn't say wife. See, this is what goes on in there. The concept of marriage is alien to them. Listen at when she listed the things that she was, and maybe I missed it, but I don't think she said wife.
Women forget that we wear so many hats. We are not just mom, daughter, sister, co-worker, employee, girlfriend. When we were born into this world, we had one.
Oh, they just stay telling on themselves. They don't even see themselves as wives. And this is what Anton says, this is your people. This is your community. You passport bros need to, they don't. You need to go out and try to marry these old bras that don't even see themselves as wives.
One name. How often do you go back to that one name and sit with, love on, and hold that one name? My name is Sheree. I'm mom. I'm babe. I'm Miss Higgs. I'm a comedian. But at the end of the day, sometimes I want to take all that crap off because I'm tired. Black women have to break this generational trauma of knowing that we are being told we're strong black women, knowing that we feel, because girl, I'm a strong black woman, but I don't feel like I have a space where I can say, I don't want to be strong in this moment. Somebody hold me.
Right. If I could jump in with you, it's Cherie, right?
I don't want to be strong in this moment. Imagine like a school bully. And then somebody else come and somebody step to him and like, all right, now what's up? Yeah, last year you was Big Willie, but I done hit a growth spurt. This is 5th grade and I'm running this. What you gonna do? And I don't want to be a bully anymore. Why you treat me like I'm a bully now? I'm tired of being a bully. I want to be a strong woman when no one actually tests my strength. I want to be a strong woman, but when you require me things that require strength, I don't want that part of it. I just want to be seen as strong. I don't want to actually have the response to bear the burdens of strength.
Hi, Cherie. So we know we carry our ancestors' history in our DNA. We carry all the trauma. They had during their lives, they had to stay alive. Like that was their primary focus was to stay alive. We don't necessarily have that issue today. So it is up to us to fix ourselves. We cannot focus on changing the world. The fastest way to change the world is to go inside and change ourselves. When we eat, we don't eat the plate all at once. We take it one bite at a time. So that one bite is us going within, doing the work and changing ourselves. Because as we level up, everything around us levels up. That's just the supernatural law.
There's nothing around you.
We level everything around us from our families and then our communities and then it stretches globally.
There's nothing around you. There is nothing around you. There is nothing around you. And I'm pretty sure that you all were mothers at some point, not wives, but mothers. And I'm pretty sure that your kids are grown. And your kids are now as far away from you as humanly possible. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. That's what they said the moment they had an opportunity to do so.
So I feel like as Black women, that is our job right now, to do the work, because we all seem to feel the same way. So the strategy is not to look at the world, how can we go out and change the world? It's look at me, how can I work through my trauma, work through my issues? And once you do that, you're going to automatically evolve because it's growth involved. A flower doesn't struggle to bloom, it blooms. God provides and it blooms, and He has His hands on us. That's why our struggle is so harsh and so strong, because
Are you strong or are you a flower?
we are equipped to do exactly this. We are equipped to be His vessel so that He can express Himself lavishly in the world through us. That is what we are called to do. We have to step up to the plate. We have to stop backbiting, stabbing each other, messing with each other's men.
You know that y'all have no problem stepping up to a plate. Look at you.
Like all the nonsense that Black women do, we have to show these young girls out here that this ain't it. What you guys got going on is not it. This is not dignified. It's not, and it's not all of them. Don't get me wrong. I know that. I'm generally speaking. But we have to take the reins and do what we have to do for ourselves because nobody else is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves.
Okay.
We have to learn how to unite. We have to be bright-eyed, not side-eyed when we see each other. We have to take away the stigma, the preconceived notions, the intimidation and insecurities that we carry. When we look at a sister, you automatically, get this aura, this edge that's not necessary instead of opening up and embracing her. And that's what we have to do for each other. And this is my healing coach talking right now. That's what I do. This is what we need. This is what we need. We all feel the void, and then not to turn this into a political conversation, but the election with Trump, like over Kamala Harris, I don't care what Kamala Harris said, didn't do. That's how did they pick Trump over that? You know what I'm saying? So that is telling us how they see us. So we have to come together as a collective, unite unapologetically, and do what we need to do for ourselves to set the tone and be the example for the girls that are coming up because they shouldn't have to step into this. We should clear this out for them so that whatever challenge they have are their own challenges, not our challenges, not our grandmothers, our great. We have to eradicate that, and it's going to take us to do it.
That's a good. That is a brilliant point. We don't think about that, but take care of it now so that the next generation doesn't have to. That is wow. That's mind blowing actually because nobody thinks about that. And I know they are going through it because I was like, if I'm a grown woman over 50, and I have days that I'm like, Lord, today's a specific challenge and I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, so I'll just stay home, right? If I feel like that, right? Because there's sometimes it's just some things you're like, can human beings be like this? Is this real or am I in the Matrix? What's going on? If I feel like that, I can imagine a young girl who lives maybe in poverty, who doesn't have both parents, who doesn't have any kind of outlet of a hope because they don't understand the power of the secret and really just believing in God, whatever it is it takes for you to get that extra
They keep mentioning younger girls. They are definitely trying to expand the sisterhood because the sisterhood was expanded to them. They listened to women like this other woman's aunt, and they went down the path, and that path led them to misery. And now they're trying to lead others. Everyone in here is over 50 because they are unsuccessful at encouraging young girls to follow down that path. Now, young girls are following a different path. And that's more like the Shiva 7 path, who I believe is also over 50. But yeah, they're not following this path of misery.
They're like, I'll just go hang out with the guys and smoke weed or whatever they want to do. I'll just go and do this. Sometimes I'm like, I used to work with young people in addiction. Sometimes I'm like, in my head, I would never tell them that. But sometimes I'm like, I don't blame them. I don't know. I mean, I'm not that type of kid. When I was a kid, no matter what was going on, I could be in the middle of trauma. I'm not giving up. That's just not, but that's because I was an orphan for the first, but first, whatever in my life. So I have a different, you're either going to win or you're not. That's it. And I chose early, as young as 5 years old, that I'm not going to be like my birth mom. And so that's why I do that. That's not everybody. It's not everybody. And I feel my heart breaks when I think of young girls, or if I see them on Instagram with their bikinis, like, look at this, and their bums showing. I'm like, what are you showing? Do you know about traffickers out here? They're looking for you. You up here setting yourself up. My heart breaks, and they're probably not looking at this where they can learn something. You know what I'm saying? It breaks. And so you're right. We have to heal ourselves, which is why I do my work, so that the next generation they have their own set of problems, not the problems that we passed on and passed on and passed on. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Anybody else?
I think what Gisette's point, I was talking to my husband and we were talking about just trauma. And what I've learned about the trauma is that a lot of times things have happened to us and we internalize it and we end up hurting ourselves. And so every day for me, like even with my own health struggles and the things that I've gone through, I've had to learn to be very intentional, especially with becoming a wife and becoming a mom. You can lose yourself in your roles. And you can lose yourself in momming. You can lose yourself in carrying on a household and being the professional. And it wasn't until I had lost my job and I had accomplished so much in life. And then I was 5 months pregnant with my baby girl and I lost my job. And it's like, who am I now? Because I had fought so hard to prove who I was. Then when I didn't have those things, who am I? So every day I have.
Now, this is interesting. I lost my job and I had to figure out who I was. So who you was your job. You see, while other people and other women define themselves by family, the family that they create, because, work is just a means to an end, and that end is the children. Who am I if I'm not a barista at Starbucks? Then who am I? Really? You thought that's who? You thought that's who you were? Unbelievable.
I had to learn to find my identity, not in the stuff that I did, not in the roles that I had taken on, but who God had made me and what I was becoming. And it wasn't until I saw my own cycles of suffering that I no longer tried to accomplish and kind of heal by doing things. I had to look in and be very, very, very intentional about my own healing. That means going to therapy. That means taking care of my health. That means making sure I had a regimen every day to get on and exercise, making sure that my spirit life was intact and that I was connecting to the Lord and being able to make sure, because for me, everything else will fail if I don't have my spirit man intact, because I'm not strong to do anything after that point. So I had to really be intentional. And I think a lot of times a lot of us are so busy focusing on fixing what's on the outside is because we're not trying to deal with what's going on the inside. So I believe in getting up every day and speaking life into my kids, because if you don't speak life into your kids, the enemy's going to speak life into them. The media is going to speak life into them. It's no longer the stranger on the outside. It's the stranger in the phone that's getting in their ears, getting in their heads. So it's like we have to be, into Sharice's point, very intentional, because it's like we just carry, we're supposed to be strong as a Christian, supposed to be strong as a faith believer, supposed to be strong. And we don't always need to be strong. And my husband allows me space to be weak, and he allows me space to be vulnerable. And my family allows that. And I allow it to be able to take the.
And he allows you a space to be fat.
I don't have to wear the S on my chest. So yeah.
My grandma, my ancestor, she used to have like 3 or 4 women that she would either call or she would write letters to. and she would like write.
That's a coven. Whenever you have four bitches, especially black ones, it's generally a coven. It's where they get together to feed off of each other's negativity, like a witch's coven. It used to be 3 or 7 when it dealt with witches of the past. Now it's just 4. These 4 women are seen in shows like Set It Off, Living Single, or movies like Set It Off and shows like Living Single. It's always around, like Waiting to Exhale. It's always 4. And in Girls Trip, it's always 4. That's a coven. That's a fucking coven. So go ahead and tell us about your coven.
Right? Or it would be a card checking on you, seeing how you doing with the grandkids, seeing how you doing with getting your new pacemaker, whatever was going on. And she knew that was going on in that woman's life. She would either do a phone call, you hear your auntie, your grandma back in the day on the phone, and it wasn't always gossip. It was, hey, I'm calling to check on you. How are you doing with your husband? How are you doing with your children? How are you doing with your grandchildren? How are you doing with your students? Because I'm a teacher. So we fellow teachers, some of us don't have kids, but we calling to check. How are you doing in your roles?
Holy crap. I believe the children are our future, and why in the fuck we got bitches like this teaching them?
And then eventually it becomes down to, how are you doing? And so sometimes I may have, it may be weird, but I got like maybe 3 or 4 people every month that I may check on and just send random text messages or call. I don't want to keep you long. I'm calling to see how you are doing.
Right.
And just sending out a text message. So I'm hearing Cherie, she live right here in my city. I know my sister. I know now, let me send her a text every blue moon to see how she's doing. Not to be nosy. And if she needs to load, I'm going to make sure that day I'm clear and I'm empty so I can receive her loading with me sometimes. Just being intentional about who I want to bother today. A healthy bother. You know what I mean? And you got to be prepared. I think we always say, oh, we good.
Basically, this is just lonely bitch talk. This is lonely bros talk. Like, hey, call me. Just say hi. Just y'all ever have like, an older woman in your family that when you were a kid you had to call, like your dad, my dad, they make you call these women. Your dad, your mom, somebody like, hey, did you call your aunt such and such? Did you call your grandma's sister such and such? Remember she sent you that $5 on your birthday? It's really that. And you should call these people. But nevertheless, that this is that mentality played out. They're asking for and begging for calls and checkups. It's that loneliness mentality.
No, sometimes we're not good. No,
Yes.
Sometimes we're not good. And I need to express it in a safe place where it's not judgmental as best as possible. It's not gossip as best as possible. I think it's just little old school stuff like that. Being grandma, reaching out. Hey,
Yes.
girl, you all right?
I like that. I know someone that does that. It's very effective. I used to try to do that to people, but they don't do it back to me. So I stopped. And there's a couple guys still, it's like, if you're not reciprocating, I'm like, hey, come on.
Yeah.
Bro. Yeah.
And reciprocation is therapy. Reciprocation is therapy, because if it's not, that can create.
The old women in my life, they yearn for that too, because that's just the way women are. Men are too, but nowhere near the same extent. I mean, they covet attention the way we covet sex. So they value attention the way we value sex. So, them being without attention is equally as depressing as us being without sex. So the older women in my family, they get theirs from actual like service to either the family or the extended community. Like they're always part of stuff. Like, yes, I volunteer here. I bake cupcakes. I'm a part of this, and that's really the way women always did it. There's always been like organizations for women in that particular situation, like Tupperware parties, etc. It wasn't about the Tupperware. I'm pretty sure, why are they going to a Tupperware party every month or so? I'm pretty sure each and every single woman there has all the Tupperware she needs. No, they're going there to socialize, church events and stuff like that, helping the children. And then they had like the benevolent society where, they got together in knitting circles and knitted clothes for children who lived in the cold and needed knitted clothes, so stuff like that. They actually did stuff that was a benefit to others. Because this concept is lost on them, they just like, hey, call me for the sake of calling me. Knit, bitch.
Alienation or stress. But I think, finding your tribe, finding a few people that there's a ball bouncing back and forth, where I know if I hit a Polly, eventually Dr. Holly gonna hit me up next month. She got a light month, a light week. And let me see what's up in the cold up the street, see how she doing. She ain't lose her mind.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's important that we check on each other, because I believe, and I could be wrong. I mean, I'm sure there's other groups that have issues that are going on aside from daily life. Like, everybody has life going on, right? So we lose a parent, we lose somebody, we lose a job, we get surgery, whatever. Everybody has those things. But I just feel like as a Black woman that we have a little extra because we're carrying all this stuff that, I mean, I don't carry it anymore because I didn't download it and put it on the main drive. Okay. But that's what I did, because I got tired at this age. You'd be like, listen, I can't anymore. But most of us, we do carry so much stuff. And so with that being said, we have to have a check-in system. We have to, because we can't just randomly walk up to a stranger and say, hey, I'm feeling this way. It doesn't work. You need a check-in system. And I like that, Nicole. Thank you for sharing that. That's a great analogy for us to take with us. Anybody else? So
in my coaching, we call that a circle of support. Like, we have, like, there is an exercise that you do where you actually list the people that you can call on. That's really important to be able, because sometimes we don't know who our support is. And again, reciprocation is the key to any relationship. You can't just keep pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring. Yes. And then nobody's pouring back into you. So any healthy relationship, it is reciprocal. So you have to know, like, so I would have my clients write down who is my circle of support, because when you're in grief, you need to know who you can call, and you need to have more than one person. So
right, a backup and trust.
Yes, trust is everything. That's everything.
Like, what does trust look like for you? What does it look like? What does it look like for you? What does it look like when people need to trust you as well? Because it goes back to reciprocation. Definitely, I like that.
Absolutely.
Reciprocation and trust.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm taking notes.
You're taking notes. I'm taking notes too. So I'll go on to the next question then, if nobody else on the panel had anything to say on that one. So Black women make up allegedly a small percent of the population. So how do claims about abortion rates and health outcomes get so distorted? And I'll give you an example. Like the other day, I had an argument with a Black man at that, about the stats on Black women have the most abortions. And I was like, okay. And can you give me the stats on the other people? Because I know we ain't the only ones in the whole wide world out here having abortions, because I don't never see them.
He didn't say you're the only ones having abortions. He said that you have the most. Holy crap. These are like teachers and shit like that who don't understand the concept of ratios. If I were to say that Kenyan men are the fastest men in the world, well, how can you say that without talking about, how fast the other men are? Like, I don't know how fast the other men are. I just know that they faster. What the fuck? See, not only is she trying to deflect, which is bad, but what's worse is she's too lazy and intellectually stunted to come up with her own deflection. So she's asking the media, and in this case, the Black man that she's talking to deflect for her. Like, I want you to come up with a stat that deflects the stat that you just presented to me. What an obnoxious bitch.
When you used to go get birth control or whatever at the clinic, you see who's in the clinic. And I was like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that, So I'm just saying, where are they getting these stats from? But then I talked to someone who does stats, and I learned this at NYU. Stats can always be changed to what I want it to be. I don't care what it is. We can see something right now, and if you need a stat on it, and I'm good.
Okay, then change it. Change the abortion rate amongst Black women to actually be a positive. I'd like to see you do that, or I'd like to see your friend at NYU do that. I'd love to see that. Because what they're saying is true to a certain extent. I would love to see them create the stat that says that they have the least abortion per capita. I would love to see that. I would love to see the numbers manipulated in that way. Hell, I'd love to see okay. I'd like to see the stats that show how Asian guys have the lowest SAT scores. I mean, we can manipulate it to do whatever, right? Let's see that.
I can change it to be whatever I want it to be, good or bad, right? With that being said, what's your thoughts on these I call them media blitzes of damaging Black women's reputation? That's what I call it. It's like, that's what I'm gonna call it. I just coined that phrase myself. It may not be appropriate, but that's what I want to say.
Well, they weaponize the data for political gain. Sometimes they weaponize the data. They push the false narratives for political gain. You know, and then again, like I said before, they don't. It's not rooted in facts. You know, they may say that about abortion, even though Black women are only 13% of the United States. You know, that's all we make up. But they won't say that they won't say that we have already.
Black women are not 13% of the population. Black people are 13% of the population. Black women are a little bit more than half of that 13%. But I know that men don't exist in your world because you're ugly as shit. But that is the truth of it.
Ready access to contraceptives. You know, they won't say that, you know, maybe.
Yeah, because they don't sell condoms at liquor stores where Black women live. You see, here's the thing. Between where you live and the abortion clinic is a bunch of condoms, is a bunch of places that you could have bought condoms. So, oh, we don't have contraception in our community, but we have Planned Parenthood, which, by the way, also gives you condoms. See how it's always somebody else's fault? No, it's a nutrition desert. No, it's a skinny bitch desert. That's what the Black community is. It's a contraception desert. No, it's a responsible woman desert.
Maybe the Black women don't have the health care they need to be able to afford the contraception or access to it. They might not have transportation.
Don't have the health care you need to afford the contraception, then don't fuck. And I'm saying this because you're ugly as shit. I wouldn't say this to an attractive woman, but you know, don't have sex. Now you can afford the abortion, strangely enough. You couldn't afford how much is a condom? Let's see. It's about you get a 3-pack for $4.99. So yeah, $1 and some change. You couldn't afford that, but you could afford an abortion. That's what you're getting at?
To get to it, like it's, you know, there's so many moving parts. So I just feel like they take the.
Yes, there is a lot of moving parts, and one of the moving parts is his penis in your vagina.
Data, they twist it how they need to and weaponize it for political gain and financial.
So every data that they don't like, it's twisted.
Gain.
They sure do put us in two extremes. We're either breeders or we're the ones having all the abortions. So I'm like,
No, you used to be breeders. Now you're the ones who are having abortions. I mean, but one thing is sure, you are collectively sexually reckless. So it's not two categories. I mean, sexually reckless is one of the categories. Like what you do with the results, either breed or abort, stems from the initial sexually reckless behavior.
where's the lie in between that? Which one? I'm getting confused.
There it is.
You know?
You're right. There's another one we're known for. They're always having babies. It's like, okay, which ones? You know,
Yeah.
I thought we were getting rid of them. We were having them. But also, this is what puzzled me about that stat, is that the New York Times.
No, y'all stopped having babies as soon as the welfare laws changed in 1999, I believe it was. The moment society stopped paying you to have babies, y'all stopped having them. Because y'all wasn't having the babies out of the, you know, mothering nature and the goodness of your heart. Y'all were having the babies to get a government check.
did an article. I want to say you can look it up. I'm sure it'll pop up in 2015 or something like that. I don't know. You can look it up. If you put New York Times, it was an article. There's no white babies being born. I don't know if you saw that article. I'm just saying, and they named a specific town. I was like, dang, no, dang, that's a problem to the eugenics. That's a problem. So I think since that narrative, everybody's gotten a little scary, Mary, like, oh no, we're gonna become extinct. And I'm like, first of all, you can't become extinct. That's number one. Until the man upstairs or woman says yes, right? That's number one. And number two, it's like it's just propaganda. Like, what are you doing? So I don't know, but to say that we're the ones having the most abortions, it really bothers me. Only because I know as I'll just say in my lifetime of seeing people, that doesn't sound like the truth at all. In fact, I know a lot of Black women that were young mothers at 15, 17, very young because their family.
Yes, they're 50 now. Okay, let's look it up. These women haven't Googled anything. Let's see. Fertility rate. Among Black Americans. All right. Fertility rate among Black Americans. Black Americans' fertility rate have been declining, but generally remains higher than white rates, though converging, with recent data showing rates around 55 to 64 births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44. Oh, Jesus. So basically, you're not having 1,000 fertile women really should have like 2,000 births. But no, you don't have 2,000 births. You have 55 through 64. Yeah. Now you haven't stopped fucking. So where are the babies? Oh, they're at Planned Parenthood. Being flushed down a toilet. That's where they are.
Most Black people don't believe in abortion back in the day. Anyway, now is a new day. But back in the day, that was a no-no.
Yeah, this is not a question of back in the day. When they bring up recent stats like I did, they're not talking about what great-grandmama did. They're saying women between the ages of 15 and 44.
No, my mother was like, every life matters. I don't care whose life it is. Every life matters. That's how we were raised. I don't know. So
and then we didn't have the resource. We didn't have the major resource to go keep getting these abortions. And with white women, especially back then, I'm a career driven, and the more kids I have, I'm going to be judged, and so they had their own cultural things of abortions was like a pill. It was like you don't hear too many women of color doing that.
They keep talking about back in the day. We're talking about now. Yeah, back in the day, we had a reputation of giving birth. Now we have a reputation of abortions. It's like, yes, that's because you're different than a modern day 15-year-old. Oh.
Especially historically. So it's just I don't.
Basically, they're saying, how can you say that we have the most abortions now when 50 years ago we didn't believe in abortions? Because you're not the same woman. How can you say Black men have a high incarceration rate and a high rate of violence in the community when 50 years ago we used to march with King? Because we're talking about two completely generations of men.
I'm always puzzled with this women of color or Black women have more abortion as an abortion thing. I mean, growing up in my household, my mom was like, white women always going to get abortions. I'm just saying. That's
we know back in the day you were getting sent down south. You weren't getting an abortion. You were going down south to go do what you
had that baby.
Test off as your aunt's baby or somebody.
Back in the days, okay.
There you go.
Number one.
Yes.
Number
Yes.
two, we know a few years ago we had an epidemic of white girls giving birth and throwing their babies in trash cans. Number one, and then
All right, I'm gonna look that up because it sounds. You see, notice how they're complaining about people misrepresenting them, and then they misrepresent other people. Let's see. I'm not even going to put in a race. Let's see. Epidemic of women throwing babies in trash cans. All right. Babies being found in dumpsters after Texas abortion ban. Let's see. 2 years on consequences of Texas abortion bans are almost too grim. Let's see. A surge of infant mortality. Babies are being found discarded in dumpsters, ditches. Okay, let's see. I'm curious about this. This year, there have been 18 cases of abandoned infants in states, according to Texas Department. Okay, so 18 is not necessarily epidemic, nor are they white. But I would say that these women are murderers, and kind of stupid, because if Texas is anything like California, you just take them to the fire station, or you take them to the nunnery, or you take it to anywhere that, you know, they take babies and they take babies in for like adoption, like the orphanarium.
and also they're also afraid of becoming a minority because they're pegged to become the minority soon. So that is why they're also pushing these narratives, and they're banning abortions in certain states and doing all this stuff they're doing because they want to prevent becoming the minority, even though technically they are, because there are more people of color than you know there are non-people. So
No, there isn't. You're stupid. You're just plain dumb.
Right.
you know, but yeah, there's so many issues around what they're pushing, you know, the narrative and the false data. And then we have a spiritual foundation, generally speaking, and we were taught that we don't get abortions, you know, even though, you know.
Once again, you're talking about past women versus modern women. Y'all were taught to be decent fucking wives, but that didn't take.
I'm not saying that we don't get them, but you know that's what the narrative was primarily pushed in our culture, that we don't get them. So
well, also here's the thing. I mean, and I just want people to think about this when they hear those stats about us, and we walk by and they look and be like, "Yeah, it's the black woman having all the abortions." Just think about this factor too. Okay, so you know, everybody knows I was looking for a brother, so I've been on a lot of sites, right? And it just
Wait,
appears to me like who's looking for their mama.
You.
That's what the narrative was primarily pushed in our culture, that we don't get them. So
well, also here's the thing. I mean, and I just want people to think about this when they hear those stats about us, and we walk by and they look and be like, "Yeah, it's the black woman having all the abortions." Just think about this factor too. Okay, so you know, everybody knows I was looking for a brother, so I've been on a lot of sites, right? And it just appears to me like whoever's.
I don't know what she said she was looking for because I got it sped up, but I don't care to find out. It'll become clear.
Who's looking for their mama? There's not as many of me. I'll just say that. I'm just saying that's just one example that I have. I have many, but that's just one. And then I tried to get some stats, some real-time stats, and I was told that none of those adoption groups, what do you call none of the adoption groups and none of the foster groups or whatever groups that would identify who is and who isn't having their babies, are allowed. They don't give their stats. And I was like, well, that's good to know that. At least we know that part, that your information is safe. So that I was happy about. But if you don't know that, then how did you come up with them stats? Because there's other stuff. There's a whole bunch of. There's a whole bunch of this. It's not just one thing. And they were like, well, it's based on. And then they gave me some number that didn't make. They said if 1,000 women had abortion and just 10 had abortions, the black women still are more because there's less of them. Something crazy. I was like, that doesn't even make sense. So I don't know. Y'all do your own research, but all I can say is
So basically, you just brought up some stuff and say it don't make sense because you're not smart enough to comprehend it. So it must be a lie in there, and then you just challenge everybody else to do their stats. Basically, you're saying I want you to prove this stat wrong. Now, it's interesting that she's looking to adopt. And once again, they're trying to replenish the sisterhood. They're trying to replenish the sisterhood. They're trying to replenish the sisterhood. And that's why she's looking to adopt.
I don't believe that's that. And I believe it is another form of propaganda via the media to make us
Yep.
look like, oh, not only am I Jezebel, no, I can't say it as a comedian. Okay, not only am I the Jezebel, but also, I'm getting rid of things, so which one is it? I don't know. But anyway.
It's always welfare and abortions. It's always put
welfare.
on black
Don't
women,
go
black
on to
people.
welfare. Don't do welfare, especially now,
I'll
because
just be
we got
like,
stats on that one. Welfare,
man,
don't do that one. It's just crazy. I don't know. Do you guys believe that black women receive equitable health care in systems, especially like during childbirth?
No.
Right. I mean, that's a different question, but yeah.
No.
And I'm a witness. I was live having my baby.
Even speaking to the last question and tying them both in together, there is, working in the healthcare field and the medical field, you go through multiple training and all that stuff. They do one. There's one that is centered around where they do a panel, or rather, there is a counting of minorities, BIPOC, when it comes to healthcare and how it's changed over the years, and how, when you were speaking in regard to the abortions, the placement and the location of these abortion clinics, when they were allowed in every state, what neighborhoods and the income levels of the neighborhoods they were more likely built in, also lower income, also BIPOC. And then at the same time, keeping the records for those things where we know we've seen historically, where there were doctors that did do the deed for ladies of the house that did not want their slave babies and things of that nature to be found out. And then all of a sudden, mysteriously, those records are not accounted for because there's a doctor in the neighborhood or in the town that would take care of those expeditiously without any record, because it would damage the reputation of said women who live in the household. But moving forward 20 years, when the placement of those said clinics were in the neighborhoods that were of the low income, that were of the black and the brown, of course, those numbers are going to be kept up, because then those numbers are into Planned Parenthood, which then also ties into welfare. So you want to make all of that stuff seem like there is so much more that's built upon the black woman, which is going to keep us down. It's even more, it's more lies, it's more propaganda, and it's hype, but it's a lot of gaslighting. Like, we have learned these terms over the years, and I'm glad that they've developed these words. Thank you, Dr. Howell and the other doctors on the panel, for allowing these words to come forward, because we've been gaslit. Gaslit with gasoline draws on from the beginning.
They're happy that they make up words, so they're happy that society has introduced these words that they chronically misuse, like gaslight, narcissist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And when they banned abortion in certain states, that's when the truth came out. Oh my goodness, the numbers. Did you see that? Shut up. There were no numbers. The numbers. No. No. The numbers, because the numbers show your states, your numbers for those that are not of, and that's all I'm going to say without saying it.
Yes.
But we know we can't be on our backs that much, because we're the most educated in the country. So we have to be getting up to go to class, if nothing else.
Here we go. Okay. I'm not even going to respond to that.
and working multiple jobs and being productive and being progressive.
That's proof, and that's why they fired so many of us, and replaced us with who they replaced us with. So like I said, it's all fear based. Everything they do as us is fear based.
Yeah. Well, how do you counteract that, though? How do we each counteract that?
I just, like I said earlier, we can't look at it that we're going to save the world. We have to. It's internal work,
Individual.
and then we have to be aligned in alignment with God's purpose and God's plan. And I'm not speaking from a religious, because it doesn't matter what religion you practice. It has nothing to do with that. It's just from a spiritual foundation. We have to get back to what we should be focused on, which is being in alignment with our greater good, with God, with the divine, however you want to call God. I call him God, Heavenly Father. But we have to be in alignment and allow things to manifest, with effort and intention, of course. And I think that's key. And I think that we have to do it as Black women. I think that is our role right now, in the world, because we have set the stage. Like, we know that we're goal oriented. We're going to do what we need to do. We're the most educated in the country. Despite all of the things that they tried to do to us. Despite everything, every obstacle,
Holy crap! They kill me with this most educated stuff. Everyone here knows that they're not the most educated. I don't know why they keep coming with this foolishness. Well, I do know it's because they misconstrued some information in the recent past, and because it told them what they want to hear, they just ran with it. but really they just need to feel like they are better than that. They're not the worst group of people in America. See, now stats are good. Remember how a moment ago they were saying like, oh, stats could be misconstrued. You know, NYU, they told me that stats is stats. But oh yeah, but we're the most educated. The fuck up.
Challenge, every mistreatment, every discrimination, we still are the most educated, which is, you know what it takes to get your education. You know what it takes to get get your career going. You know, you got to put your baby on your back. You got to.
Yeah, I know what it takes to get an education. It takes Chat GPT. Shut the fuck up.
Put your family on your back. You got to put so many things. You got to suppress all of your issues, and yet we still are accomplished. You know, if that's not showing, if we're not the evidence of God's favor and God's power, then I don't know what is. You know, so I just feel like we have to do it for ourselves.
If we are not evidence of God's favor, I'm thinking about slavery right now. I'm thinking about that scene from 12 Years as a Slave where Lupita is getting whipped by the white man who fucks her crazy. Is that God's way of showing favor? I see a bunch of old, broke, lonely, ugly bitches. Is that his way of showing favor? I wonder how he treats his least favorite. I'm curious about that.
We cannot depend on somebody riding on a white horse or a black horse. You know, we have to do it ourselves. We have to put down our guards, do the work, come together in unity as a collective, and do it ourselves by being the example. You know, becoming who we are supposed to be, who we are called to be, not necessarily what we do, but who we are. You know, we have to let that shine through. I just feel like our ultimate purpose, all of us, is to give and to shine. You know, give and to shine, give and to shine. That is. We can't be focused on getting. We can't be focused on getting. We have to be focused on giving, because that comes from a space of abundance, and we have everything that we need because God provides. You know, and that's what I teach. You know, in my courses. You know, I just feel like that's what needs to take place. You know, we can't do it without each other, and we can't do it if we don't do it from this inside. Let that come out. As above, so below. You know, what we bring forth in heaven comes forth in the earth. Like that, all of that is inside outward. You know, we have to do it ourselves. That's the only way.
I think that having a relationship with God is definitely paramount and key. And for anybody who's watching and listening that does not have a relationship with God, I encourage you to reach into community with a woman or women who do have a relationship with God and ask them to be your mentor, right? I think
How about bitch, shut the fuck up? How about if you want to get a relationship with God, which you don't, you just want the reputation of godly women of the past. You just want to inherit the reputation of godly women in the past. You don't actually want to be godly women, because nothing that you do is in God's path or plan. Like the whole nuclear family thing, seen, not heard thing, like all of the tenets of the Bible, all of the Bibles, and I'm not talking about just, Protestant, like they all pretty much have a place for a woman and a place for a man, and you are definitely not in a woman's fucking place in any religion that exists ever. You are not even an African titty shit hut bitch. You are not in any fucking religion that exists and has ever existed. You are not in the role of that. So shut the fuck up. And then say, oh, they should get a black female mentor. Why the hell do they have to be a female mentor? Why don't they just get a pastor or priest or shaman, or rabbi, like every other fucking person that seeks religion? No, because you want to spread your foolishness. You want to create your own separate religion of sisterhood and create a new generation of fat ass miserable bitches.
Worship is really, really good. Growing up, as they would say, it takes a village. So if you don't have that, then I say reach out to be around or in community or in circle relationship with other women who can uplift you, empower you, who you could look into and model their behavior so that you can
model their behavior. See, I'm telling you, they're trying to spread. The sisterhood is dying. It's dying. It's dying. It's dying. It's dying. It's dying. Sisterhood is dying. And they're trying to replenish it with younger women. Now, somebody asked a moment ago, what's the difference between the sisterhood and the Shira 7 thing? The sisterhood tried to do everything without a man. The Shira 7 types are trying to take advantage of men. So it's really no benefit to the men. However, the sisterhood types like this, they're unable to replenish themselves for a number of reasons. And one of the main ones is that things are a lot more difficult now. It requires young people to work a lot harder than when they were young. Like back in the 70s and shit. Back in the 70s, a black woman could just march into the government and say, affirmative action, gimme, 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 welfare, gimme, gimme, gimme. And then they get it, and then they say, I'm a strong black woman. I don't need a man. See, now they can't do that as readily. Now they march into the welfare office, with a kid, and they say, okay, we're only taking 2, and we're only taking care of them for 5 years. 5 years. 5 years. And now, even before Trump, the affirmative action thing was dying in private industry. And but even in public industry, they have become so many different types of minorities now. That's why they started using terms like people of color. So now black women are losing government jobs to Indian women because she's a person of color. And Oriental women and Latino women and, and really just homosexuals and cripples and like all kind of shit. So it actually takes more people. It takes more resources. And the newer generation are aware of that. But instead of, once again, being decent wives and mothers, they decide to, okay, how can I get over? How can I get money from these niggas? So it's a different mentality, but they're dying and they're looking for mentorship. You got the one bitch talking about adoption. You have the other ones talking about young women. You need to get a mentor. Basically, just give me attention. Let me be your Yoda. But Yoda knew how to fucking fight and wield lightsabers. And, Yoda was more handsome than your ass is pretty.
Start to understand and develop a relationship with God. I think so much of not just my generation, but just a lot of people in general are just lost and don't really understand like where to go because we have so many different distractions. And now they're just even worse because of social media and people wanting things so fast and people now wanting a lot of relief because of things that's been happening for the last 2-5 years and people are just eager to get into something. So if you don't have that direct connect and relationship with God, do connect with people who do so that you can start to get and have.
Yeah. They're called pastors. They're called priests. They're called rabbis. They're called shamans. They're called witch doctors. They're called whatever religious leader has that. They're why in the fuck should they? You're just trying to expand your fucking sisterhood. It's dying. It's dying. Like one person, it used to be 7 people on this panel. One person died like during the show. Like it's dying. It's a dying culture.
Have that mentorship and move towards that.
It's so important. I can say, while I'm not in an active church because there are some I love, but some of them I can't because the logic doesn't make sense for some of them. For some of them, it depends on which ones. But I'm very spiritual, and I do my due diligence of my spiritual self. And I will say that as a young kid, that is how I got through everything that I've ever went through in my life. And so did our ancestors. They had us, we called it something different or whatever, but it's the same thing. Believe in something other than yourself. And if they can make it through, I know I can. And I use them as my example. Whenever I get really down, I say somebody went through way worse than you even think you're going through. So you have to pick it up. Take what take whatever's happening, process it, let it marinate, sit in it for a while, right? But you can't stay there because somebody went through way worse so that I wouldn't have to stay there. Because some people had to stay there, whether they like it or not. So like Gisette said, we have to take the ball ourselves and do what we can for ourselves, and then we can help others.
I remember when my spiritual mother, she will always say, as women and as Black women, we're like crabs in a barrel, just always just trying to tear each other down. And I remember coming up in my early 20s and being in corporate, and I could not find any mentors. As a young Black woman with other Black organizations, I was in media, and I couldn't find that. And I didn't find it, to Dr. Holly's point, until I found other people in a community that were like-minded in faith. And it wasn't until I started to surround myself with that, then I started to see how we were lifting each other up. And that faith piece was the most important piece, because as a young girl who had trauma, who had a cumulative loss in my life, I didn't know who I was, because death and grief and loss, they strip at you, and you lose your footing. And especially when you lose fundamental people in your life, you have to, as a young person, you don't know who you are, and then you lose monumental people. You have to find yourself in that. So as a young person, I was always looking for, and I had family who was in media, who were really great people, but my peers around me, it was always about tearing you down. And you're, again, that voice that the enemy would use through people. You're not enough. As you are, you're not enough. And so it wasn't that faith piece for me. It saved my life, because without it, I couldn't have walked in my purpose. And it was like when I stopped running from the pain and I looked in, and I
it's not a matter of faith. Basically, you just found a place where they were dishing out friends. That's it. Which is what you needed, because you need attention.
Leaned on my faith to heal me. It wasn't until I was able to show up in groups like this, like-minded women, because you will tear each other down because you're unhappy, because you're miserable, and you don't like who you are. And so, to Gisette's point and to everyone's point, it starts with us. No, we can't heal the world. It has to start with us stopping and to stop running from the call, because we're all called to so many different things. We're all called to greatness. And once we stop running from the trauma, from the pain, and we really look in and we really dig our feet into our faith, whatever that looks like for everybody. But once we dig our feet in and we surround ourselves in community, because you don't heal in isolation, you heal in community. You need community to heal. And I found community, I found like-minded sisters, and we prayed together, we came together, and we excelled together, we pushed each other up. And that was the key for me. And I try to make sure my daughters surround themselves with like-minded people, because you can only bring somebody higher than where.
I hope she only has daughters. I hope she only has daughters. I hope she only has daughters. Because if she has at least one son, it would mean that she don't give a shit about her son. I hope she's a girl mom. I really do. Like, because we have to pull together our daughters. Yeah, but sons too. You have sons too. You have boys too. No. Fuck them. I'm not going to raise my sons. I'm just going to let them figure it out themselves. And then when they become adults, say that they ain't shit.
And we excelled together. We pushed each other up. And that was the key for me. And I try to make sure my daughters surround themselves with like-minded people, because you can only bring somebody higher than where you are. And so if you're walking with people who are not doing what you're doing, they're going to pull you in. So we all have to lean on one another. Community is so important.
Everything is community. I believe no matter where I go, the first thing I do is who's in my community. Wherever, I don't care where, if I move anywhere, that's the first thing I do, because you really that's the first thing you see when you go out your door. And then when you come back in your door. So that's just like being in your house, like I got to get along with these people, and I got to know who they are and how they operate. There's times when you have to ignore that. I get that. There's some people who move neighbors, they're like, maybe I shouldn't have did this. But generally speaking, I always want to know who the local store is, who the shopkeeper is, who the local whatever is, just because you got to know who they are, so that when you reach out, you have a source, and they may have a source, not be the one you expected, but your community is everything.
But we all know, though, I got to interject again, that when all else fails, we got God. When all else fails, we have God. Because if we don't have anybody else to look to the left, look to the right, we have God. And I think that's our source. We can't, we need community. I'm not saying that we need support, but if we don't have that, we have God. And God sustains us. He's our source. And Tanya, you were an orphan. What would you have done if God didn't watch over you when you were by yourself? You he's with us everywhere we go. We're never alone, no matter what we're facing, and we can call on him and he'll answer. If nothing else, yes, go get your community, but God's with you before you have your community.
Absolutely. Oh no, I wasn't referring to anything other than that.
No, I know. I just wanted to.
I think what I'm getting from everybody, which I appreciate, is what I was getting first from Ms. Lizette is individualism in this aspect creates collective. Like you can't, and talking about God and spirituality is not something just rhetoric. Like if I can't get a hold of someone and call someone a text or go to this group meeting.
Local shopkeeper. And you say, how's that going for you? Well, the reason they're one of those old people that pester regular people while they do their job. I mean, what we're talking about, they talk about the male loneliness epidemic, but we're not out, trying to get to know the person that bags our groceries. Like, oh no, let me adopt, let me mentor. This is them reaching out, trying to get more attention. This panel is a representation of that. How are Black women healing the world? It's healing other people, in the sense that white men could say, whew, at least I don't have to deal with this shit. And white women could say, whew, at least I'm not that bitch. So it's cathartic. It's cathartic to know that there's somebody so fucked up that you could just ignore at any point in your life. Black men don't really have that luxury, but yeah.
Or get a hold of my journal so I'm so broken at this point where there's something, it's something that's beyond you and beyond us.
Right. That's right there.
And then that's going to pull you through from tripping out or whatever you about to do, self-injury to yourself or to someone. And then you got that community. They both are needed. They both are needed. And we in the world, I don't know if it's kind of past a little bit, but I'm self-made. And so I'm sticking to myself. I don't trust nobody. And I get that. I get where that comes from. You got to stick with yourself. I don't want this and I don't want that. But then after a while, that gets expired too. And that gets played out because it can't just be you. So it's a balance with that individual and the collective.
Yeah. I think for me, I was just speaking to people who have not developed a relationship with God. We all know that there's a higher power. Even if you don't believe in it, we hear it, we talk about it, whether it's to a church, a mosque, or whatever. But for somebody who don't even know how to start a relationship because of whatever it is, they can still tap into a mentor that could bring them to that mosque, to that church, or to that type of service to say, hey, this is where you can go to a safe place and start your relationship with God. Because if somebody is on the street and shooting up in their arm or sex working because they're just trying to survive, they're not thinking, oh, God got me. They're not thinking that. So what would be a quick, direct way for me to help somebody who is in the brink of committing suicide? I can tell them, let's pray, and I can tell them, why don't you go to this place? But for some people, it's more than, okay, God is always with you. They probably hear that, but they want something more tangible. So I'm just kind of opening it up to people who are coming from all different parts, right? And I think for me, growing up and the type of traumatic experiences I've had, that relationship with God took time. It took time.
That's a task that we need to take on as Black women, because that's what I mean when I say that the girls coming up after us shouldn't have those experiences. We have to be accountable. We have to take responsibility and not make excuses and not use what we went through as kids as excuses.
And boys, once again, Black women only give a shit about their daughters.
Excuses not to better things for the girls coming, because there's no child that should not feel like they don't have God.
And that's why I said mentorship. Right. No, I agree. That's why I said mentorship is key.
No child should ever think that they don't have God, period. Because he's the only one that's going to be with you 24/7. That's not a connection that you have to build on. It just is. Just like
loneliness. He's the only one that's going to be with you 24/7. You're looking for company and intangible beings, really entities.
He just is there. It just is. Like, that's the reality of it. He just is. So I feel like that we are charged with fixing that. That's just what I teach. We are charged with fixing that. I'm not saying that the reality isn't that some people don't have the foundation, don't have that, and everybody needs community. But what I'm saying is that we are charged with making a change and making the adjustment so that generations after us don't have to dwell in that same space as Black women. We are charged with that. There are no excuses. We are charged with that.
Well,
No, I agree with you. That's why I mentioned mentorship. I agree with you. That's why I mentioned mentorship. Because if somebody young doesn't have that, that's where mentor can step in. Being a therapist, I've seen people with substance abuse, alcohol.
They are desperate. They are desperate to spread the sisterhood. We have to teach our daughters. We need mentorship. They are desperate to try to get the sisterhood to the next generation. All of these chicks are over 50. And the next generation is not hearing the crap that turned them into this. They're not.
So it's passed down, and then how it reached back before then. But it trickled all the way down to my mother and my aunt. So still helping them realize that, no, what you have been carrying throughout all of this time, you also need a moment to decompress and dispel that as well. Yes. It means a lot. And especially before they pass and go on home, it means a lot. My mom was able to do that before she passed away, and it just the relief. They don't afford themselves. They don't think that they are do that. You know, I don't need to, nobody, it's passed for me. No, it's not. It's still time for you. You know, so I just to it.
Well, I have compassion for my like 80 pluses, you know, in that range, because you know, they went through a lot that we don't even know about. I had a senior talking to me one time. She's like 90, and she told me some things. I was like, oh, you are my newest hero, because I don't think I would have been through. I thought what I went through was difficult or challenging. Boy, right? I mean, she had that, and she can't drink out of a water fountain, and she can't do this. And if she come out too late in the wrong town, she might end up by the tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's extra things, and that is, to me, I understand why, you know, an 80-year-old will say, I can't go and change. Now we're going to keep telling them, yes, you can, girl, you can change, because that's what we do, right? But I understand why it's so embedded in them, because they were raised with a whole different set of standards. Unlike us, we're blessed that while, yes, we still have to watch where we go, our daughters are still missing, our kids are missing, you know, we still have those things going on. Really, like there's a serial killer in New York right now. There's one in, where's it at? There's another one in Texas. So we have things to be vigilant about, but it still is not like the 1900s, early in 18, you know, it's still not that, what they had to go through. So I have to have compassion sometimes for them, and I have to just, as much as I try to nudge them, I just have to fall back sometimes and say, okay, I get it. You know, I mean, you know, we pick and choose our battles, right? Well, they're picking and choosing theirs, and they choose to just go in peace and be thankful that they lived to be 90 or 100 and made it this far with what they've been through. So I get it.
I agree. There's so much respectability politics that the more senior generations are harboring, you know, because they just simply didn't have the privilege of being able to speak as freely as we can, even right now. There's so many.
Well, there's a reason for that. They didn't have the privilege to be able to speak as freely because they shouldn't have, or else they'll say stupid shit like you.
Subjects, even down to expressing how they were feeling personally in any situation, they just don't talk about. You know, they're quite happy to say, no, I don't want to talk about it. And all of that internalizes, and we see it manifesting in chronic illnesses, autoimmune diseases, the biggest killer of Black women worldwide.
She's talking about AIDS. Isn't AIDS autoimmune deficiency something? Autoimmune disorder? She's talking about AIDS. And apparently AIDS is a byproduct of stress, not sexual irresponsibility. Thank you. I forget what the D is, but nevertheless, yeah. So they read the AIDS stats and say, oh, yes, society needs to stop stressing us.
Yes, it's stress is something that, internal stress, I call it, is something that we have to learn. And young people, you're watching, you have to learn how to process that. You have to learn how to take whatever it is, whether it's grief, trauma, drama, and you have to know how to hold it and put it where you need to put it. Because if you don't, it will eat you alive. It's you know, we're just learning this stuff now. I'm glad I don't really internalize, hold on to too much, even as a kid in middle trauma. I mean, I've compartmentalized it, is what I do. No, I'm not civil, but I hold on to, I put it in the compartment that it needs to go in and say, okay, we got to process that. Let's do that here. And then this is the reality for this. So we're going to do this. That's what I do, but not everybody can do that, you know? And so I just leave grace for those who can. I just keep trying to nudge them the other way. Get the therapy, you know? Because it's so important. So important. I want to go to the next question because I can't believe the time flew so quick. In my 20 years with beauty standards, like over-sexualization, and
you've already answered that question.
And you know the impact it has on Black women's self-image and public perception.
I'll take this one. if that's okay. I guess for myself, growing up being very heavily influenced by the media from the fashion industry's perspective, and then going on to study and work in the fashion industry as from my late teens, mid-20s. The one thing that I
never heard a stat on it, so it's okay to say them, but I get my chalkboard on the nails on the chalkboard. That's me when I hear stats. I'm like, ah.
So I think the messaging that they put out is an ultimate contradiction, because they don't include us in beauty standards, yet they hypersexualize us, and then they copy our body types. You know what I mean? So like it's whatever messaging they want to put out.
You in beauty standards?
They do what they want to do. They paint whatever pictures they want to. But I think it's just,
I wonder what she means when she says us. Like, you're saying that they don't include Black women in beauty standards, or they don't include Black women that look like you in beauty standards? Because there's always been like a Josephine Baker in the world. Like, ever since emancipation, there's always been like a understanding that certain Black women are beautiful, none of whom look like you. So I don't really know. There's even like a Black Barbie. Like, I don't think that they even define beauty without some way having Black women in it, a beautiful Black woman in it. So when you say women like us, you're talking about women like you. And the reason why you're not included in beauty standards is because you're not beautiful. And it's not because you're Black, it's because you're an unattractive Black woman. And old as fuck.
it's data anyway. You know what I mean? Like the data's biased. So that's, that we want to get whatever we put in is whatever it's going to put out.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. Has anyone noticed? I don't know if because AI now is so sophisticated, it's becoming so much more sophisticated. Has anyone noticed that there are trolling AI videos of Black women stereotypes on Instagram and X and TikTok where they're not even real? It's like the ones where the ones that rage bait us, the ones where it is the girlfriend finding the boyfriend cheating. There are fake AI videos of women busting into other women's houses or beating up women, or there's fake videos of women cheating. There's fake videos of the Black and the white woman saying something and the Black woman saying the counter to get the man. There is, and I'm like, this is appalling. Like it's you can't even tell that it's AI unless you really look at it. And I'm a rabbit holer, so I look at it about 10 to 15 times. Like, wait a minute, because that raged me, and that's not even real. It's not even real. There was one that was a woman being drugged out. It was almost like the Sandra Bland, like the female that just happened in the Minneapolis. There was an AI rage baiting video of a Black woman being pulled out of a vehicle, and it's not even real. And then they have these sites that perpetuate it, where a Black woman is being beat upon by a Black man, and it's not even real. I went down the rabbit hole for a case that I thought was a real news case, and it turned out it was AI.
Wow.
Because I'm like, what happened to the Black woman? Like, did she go to jail? Like, you're saying that she was a...
Makes sense. So what role does community and sisterhood, play in protecting Black women from isolation and misinformation?
Once again, these women are dealing with loneliness and isolation, and they're trying to reel younger women in to keep them company until they become older, isolated women themselves. It's sad. This is definitely misery-seeking company.
To push our own stories, again, create spaces and platforms to push our own stories, tell our own truths, and not be afraid to do it, even if it comes from a space of helping others, and relieve the stigma and the self-esteem issues and the fear of being exposed. I just think that we should, create a safe space to be able to tell our own stories without judgment.
Yes, absolutely, without judgment.
I agree so much to the point. I don't know if I can say her name. Our fellow comedian, Miss.
I want a safe space online for everybody to hear it, but I don't want people to have thoughts that are not consistent with their own. Got you.
If anyone has not, please make yourself available to watch. I know she named it after the Girl Trip movie, but this is her personal girl trip where she took a few girlfriends of hers back to Africa and went on a spiritual journey. It is so beautiful because it gives a glimpse into the medicinal, like we just spoke on. It also gives a light into the spiritual, and then the biases from the way that we seek healing to the biases that we feel are put on us that we shouldn't feel okay to experiment. Not so much experiment, but be open to healing in different ways, as long as it's not in the dark, but different ways to disparage that, because they were going through, I think they went to Zimbabwe, they went to Ghana, they went to Cape Town, and it was just so beautiful just to see her express the things that were put on her, because we all know she's got quite a backstory of, gossip on her. And she addressed that. And the things moving forward, how it affected her mentally, how reading in the comments and all of that stuff affected her, how trying to seek counsel from those around.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's faith is everything. Faith is everything. Anything else before I address one of the questions? So somebody had a statement on the panel, but on the side here. But I'll let you ladies, if you had something else that you feel like is something I missed, please be my guest.
Guys, it's nice being with you guys and learning from you guys. I got to get out of here. I just want to say farewell, and I hope to cross paths with you guys again. And thanks for having me, Tanya.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We kind of over time. I'm going to end it.
Yeah,
but
I gotta go.
I know you got to go. It's okay. That's all right. She can pop out. Nicole's going to pop out. Y'all can find her on the.
Okay, the funny thing is that the moment this woman leaves too, the other women are going to be talking about how these light-skinned bitches, they only unite when they're against black men or another group of men or people in general. But the moment she leaves, she's going to be like, these light-skinned bitches think that this, and this. Talking about her husband and shit.
IG. I put everybody's IG up there, and I want to tell you to please, if you can, go out and get these books. Now we might cover our screen for a minute just to show these. Go out and get the books. Black Women to be Unapologetic Unity. She also has Black Women to be the Black Women's Guide Agenda. And for Dr. Shuri, where are you at?
Notice how they never make a book like A Black Woman's Guide to Sucking My Dick. Like damn it. All right.
Let's see. Yes. This.
Okay. That's that. Thank goodness. All right. Anyway. Let me read some comments down my head out there. This is your safe space, Keisha, just that nobody cares. Yeah, exactly. Like there's nobody in the space with them because they know that, this message isn't spreading anymore. It's spread and it took their entire generation, like millennials, older Gen X, or not millennials, but boomers, older Gen Xers. It completely just exploded that generation. And now it's fizzling out, like the millennials started to side-eye it, and Gen Z they're like, okay, this shit is played, like society is much more complicated now. We can't move in silence anymore because we got Manosphere really just pointing out what we're doing. Our tactics isn't working anymore. We're not doing this whole strong independence thing. Has really just made us hated, by society. And the current president is really the benefactor of such hatred. So we can't, this old way isn't working anymore. It's not. A lot of their solutions appear to be faith-based. Are young people going for that? Well, first of all, they don't have young people in their lives that it's not like they pass down their religious beliefs to the next generation. And due to all the flaws that's going on in the Missionary Baptist Church right now, it's very difficult to pass it on to younger generations. It is. But you really can't blame them because you are a generation that defined yourself in defiance. Like you went against the grain. Why would you expect your children to not do the same? The generation before the boomers, you know, they followed a template. You threw out that template, and there you have it. All right. Let's see. Maybe they're helping you by highlighting the alleged plight. Yeah. Everyone knows once you don't find a woman attractive, she has no leverage, and she has no leverage on you and freaks out. Yeah. I mean, once they realize that you can't, you know, according to Courtney Michelle, leverage their box, they're like, oh shit, I don't have anything. You know, without my box, I have nothing. This is what's happening with Black women. Too many are overweight and no longer hold leverage over Black men. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, basically, if physical attraction is a woman's power, then they have none. They have little to none. So you're right. It's and they have to deal with that. A lot of their solutions appear to be, oh dang, why am I reading the same thing over and over? Because I'm hungry. Do women want a book on that? Well, they don't feel that they need one. Their religious beliefs equal find a preacher that tells them what they want to hear. Yep. And all preachers do that because that's the only way they could keep a female congregation. See, understand this. And I learned this when I was young, and I was passing out flyers, setting up parties for every, you know, for things. And that is the template, the old template was to invite the women and the men will follow. So like if I was throwing a party for friends or fraternity or something like that, you know, I'd go to the mall back when the mall was a thing and pass out flyers. And to the girls primarily, there really wasn't a need to pass out the flyer to the young men, because once the young men realized that the girls were coming, then they were going to come too. Now the problem that the problem now is that the milkshake don't bring the boys to the yard, and I'm talking about Black women. There is no, like in the 90s, it's like, hey, you know, a group of Black women are getting together and they're having a party. Now, if somebody says that, even Black men would be like, so what? I ain't going to that shit. Because they know it's going to be a bunch of fat broads there. And men generally don't like fat broads. They know it's going to be a bunch of obnoxious bitch, or they know it's just going to be a bunch of, you know, women there that's not fucking. So, like, what's in it for me type deal. But yeah, anyway, thank everybody that participated. Go ahead and hit that like button on your way out. This is GameChanger 00100. Game over. Peace.